You may be seated. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Ava's senior thesis. My name is Amber Struble. Ava's been my senior this year, and it's been a lot of fun. Joining me on the panel are, I'm sure they don't need introduction, but they're going to get them anyway, is AJ Perea and Steve Westfall. In just a moment, I'll give her the reins, and we will get started. But first, would you please join me in a word of prayer? Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for giving us this unique opportunity for Ava to share what you've put on her heart and for us to listen to that. I ask that you would calm any nerves she has, or any of our nerves, and that this would be something that she looks back on and is proud of. In your name I pray. Amen.
All right. Life is notoriously difficult, and this is hardly a revolutionary concept either. Ask any young person what an adult has said to them when they express dissatisfaction. Well, life is hard. Get used to it. Whoa. I assure you that that young person knows, because everyone does. Struggle is as inherent to the human condition as breathing. Breathing in itself requires effort, unconscious though it may be. But why is that? Why is life so hard all the time, even when something monumental isn't being faced? I believe this has had something to do with endurance, love, and effort, even amidst struggle, and the fact that life must be led with empathy no matter what. In 1942, Albert Camus published The Myth of Sisyphus, an essay on absurdist philosophy and an examination of life's meaning. In this essay, he borrows from the Greek myth of the titular Sisyphus, the Greek king who angered Zeus to the point that upon his death, he was condemned to the underworld, cursed to roll a rock up a hill for all of eternity, just to have it roll back down to the base, thus restarting the cycle. This story has been taken to signify the endless, repetitive tasks that constitute living. At the very end of the tale, Camus writes, "I leave Sisyphus at the foot of the mountain. One always finds one's burden again." Camus examines Sisyphus' story in the broader context of human life itself, and whether it is worth living, despite the mundanity of it all. Mundanity, in and of itself, is a neutral concept that depends entirely upon the action that is ascribed to it. Whereas dishes needing to be done every night simply means that good meals keep being had, backbreaking work on an assembly line hardly signifies anything but the exploitation of human labor. Obviously, there are things in our everyday lives that, while perceived as negative, aren't going to bring about actual harm. For example, my classmates and I, in our junior year, had to take geometry. This included going to class and then coming home every day and studying multiple propositions, none of which I remember now, my many apologies to Mr. Perea, just to have to come back the next day. We have to see if we're going to present them through the so-called random dice roll. But there is no relief to be had, presentation or not, because as soon as you leave class, the cycle starts itself over. In this instance, I am Sisyphus, and my rock is Euclidean geometric propositions. However, as previously mentioned, not all mundanity is bad. As exemplified in a quote by G.K. Chesterton, "Because children have abounding vitality, because they are, in spirit, fierce and free, therefore they want things repeated and unchanged. They always say, 'Do it again,' and the grown-up person does it again until he is nearly dead. For grown-up people are not strong enough to exult in monotony. But perhaps God is strong enough to exult in monotony. It is possible that God says every morning, 'Do it again' to the sun, and every evening, 'Do it again' to the moon. It may not be automatic necessity that makes all daisies alike. It may be that God makes every daisy separately, but has never got tired of making them. It may be that he has the eternal appetite of infancy, for we have sinned and grown old, and our Father is younger than we." This quote illustrates that God, in his infinite wonder, never tires of the constant effort of creation. As humans, made in the image of God, we will inevitably fall short of his glory, but it is still up to us to do our best to emulate him in every way that we can. Effort, even mundane effort, is necessary to the existence of humans. To negate that past reason is to cut out something that has connected all of us throughout history. In all of this talk of mundanity, I cannot help but think of one of the 21st century's most significant technological innovations: artificial intelligence. Bear in mind, I use the word innovation in its most basic definition, quote, "a new idea, method, or device." Innovation, as a word, often invokes a sense of triumph or improvement, and I assign to AI no such classification. Forget for just a moment that fresh water is one of our most valuable resources, and that single AI data centers are using more of it per day than entire cities. Forget that AI art and role-play chatbots are stealing the work of real artists and real writers without their consent and without compensation. I want to focus on tasks, and specifically, the most common argument I hear in favor of casual AI use. It's easier. We have the ability to shorten or altogether cut out everyday tasks by delegating this work to a computer system. Why wouldn't you do that? It is the perfect solution, as long as you ignore the cognitive impacts and also the environmental effects. And the cognitive impacts, don't think about that, or the data harvesting is also not important. But other than that, it's the perfect solution. Why should you go through this painstaking effort of reading an email like a Neanderthal if you could have a computer do it for you? I'll tell you why. Because life is made better by the effort that we put into it. Personal effort is one of the only through lines that connects humanity across time, no matter the culture and no matter the period. As mundane as these tasks are, they're still you. If everyone is just summarizing emails with AI and having it write a response, then at the end of the day, communication is just two computers playing human. To quote Frank Herbert in his novel Dune, once men turned their thinking over to machines in the hopes that this would set them free, but that only permitted other men with machines to enslave them. When we put effort into our everyday life, it builds endurance to make things easier, and by extension builds character, which allows for better problem solving. This endurance translates into every aspect of life, but especially resilience. For this thesis, I had the honor of interviewing Dr. Richard Bartlett, a physician who has worked in the emergency medicine field for over 20 years. Additionally, he has gone toe-to-toe with insurance companies for the good of his patients and had his expertise called into question on national television by some of the most influential healthcare figures in the country. Despite experiencing firsthand the effects of greed, violence, and human mortality, he continues to show up to work day after day to better the lives of those around him. When I asked how he made it through the various difficulties of his professional career, his advice was to, quote, walk it out step by step. What I believe he means by this is that in order to endure, we have to take things in increments. If we try to look too far ahead or on too wide of a scale at one time, it will overwhelm us to the point that we are not able to function properly. By going step by step, it is easier to avoid getting tangled up in the complexity of it all, and it helps you focus on the things that you can actually process and control. However, personal firsthand experience is not the only way that we as people are exposed to the evil of the world. In the 21st century, the rise of social media and widespread journalism has given us more access to the happenings all around the world than at any other time in history. To speak from personal experience, I can wake up, open Instagram, and see the near daily account of the atrocities committed by those in power. I can see a citizen executed in the street. I can see children so malnourished that their ribs press up through their skin. I can see a once prosperous Rafah razed to the ground by Israeli strikes. We as a collective, have witnessed genocides take place before our very eyes, just the tap of a screen away. But why does that matter? It's not me that's starving. It is not your child who wet herself calling an ambulance in her car, surrounded by the bodies of her family, only to be hit and killed by one or many of the 335 bullets fired at the car by the IDF. No, that was only 5-year-old Hind Rajab, whose body was recovered 2 weeks later, 50 meters from the burned-out ambulance sent to rescue her. These atrocities take place far away, with no personal ties to us. It would be so easy to look away, to remove yourself, to say that you don't have the time or the energy to care. I could say that's because it could be you. That could be your child dying alone and frightened. I can even quote that well-known poem, Pastor Martin Niemöller's First They Came, to say, first they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. And then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. And then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. No one, however, is truly prone to believe that it could happen to them. So I turn instead to the words of Omar el-Akkad in his novel, One Day, Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This. No, there is no terrible thing coming for you in some distant future. But know that a terrible thing is happening to you now. You are being asked to kill off a part of you that would otherwise scream in opposition to injustice. You are being asked to dismantle the machinery of a functioning conscience. Who cares if diplomatic expediency prefers you shrug away from the sight of dismembered children? Who cares if great distance from the blood-stained middle allows obliviousness? Forget pity. Forget even the dead if you must, but at least fight against the theft of your soul. It's no longer enough to turn away. We no longer have the excuse of ignorance. It's no longer enough to witness either. To continue on a path of apathy is to see yourself lose your grip on morality, the abandonment of the moral compass that I know people to hold so dear. Worse, to turn a blind eye to atrocity is to turn a blind eye to the door through which it enters your own being. Lest you take care to stop it, you will so easily become that which you witness. In this case, perhaps, apathy and transformation are virtually inseparable. Renowned author and civil rights activist James Baldwin, speaking on the death of the heart and how love loses ground to apathy, said, "Love has never been a popular movement, and no one's ever wanted really to be free. The world is held together, really it is held together, by the love and the passion of a very few people. Otherwise, of course you can despair. Walk down the street of any city, any afternoon, and look around you. What you've got to remember is that what you're looking at is also you. You could be everyone you're looking at is also you. You could be that person. You could be that monster. You could be that cop. And you have to decide in yourself not to be. In the same way that it is geographical luck which separates us from the oppressed, it is our choices that separate us from their oppressors. And now that I have addressed ignorance and witnessing and apathy, there remains the final point on the graph: action. Let me be clear when I say, I am not asking you to change the world. I cannot change the world. We can, however, make a difference. There's a quote commonly attributed to Rabbi Tarfon and later translations to Rabbi Rami Shapiro saying, "Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. No one person is required or expected to fix everything, but there's always action to be taken. There's always something to be done. Active love, demonstrated through action and care, is all that has truly held the world together. Whether it be Christ's love for the world or a neighbor's love for their neighbor, we would have no reason for being without it." In our junior year, we read Fyodor Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov. A character I am continuously intrigued by and in admiration of is Zosima the Elder, mentor and church leader to young Alyosha Karamazov. When speaking on the effort that love requires of us, he says, "I am sorry I cannot say anything more comforting, for active love is a harsh and fearful thing compared with love and dreams. Love and dreams thirst for immediate action, quickly performed, and with everyone watching. Indeed, it will go so far as to giving one's life, provided that it does not take long but is soon over, as on stage, and everyone is looking on and praising. Whereas active love is labor and perseverance, and for some people, perhaps, a whole science. In order to love well, to love like Christ, struggle is necessary. If it was easy, it would not be so lacking in the world. It would not be so difficult to get up every day and choose love over and over again. There are steps, smaller ones, that you can take in your everyday life. The base of action must be self-education. You have to know what you believe before you act on it. Pick up a book, listen to a podcast, look something up. And I'm not talking about AI summaries. Read the text and engage with it yourself. Once you know what you care about, you could raise awareness, donate, call your representatives, make lifestyle changes, cut out what's harmful to what you support. The list goes on for miles. Any action, no matter how small, builds up to the next. We must keep enduring, we must keep loving, and we must keep trying. This very same life, so full of opportunities for love, is relentlessly tiring. Life is and always has been made better by the effort we put into it. And though life is tiring to witness and tiring to live through, despite the exhaustion, we must continue on with empathy and active love. That is our rock. That is our burden. The road is long and arduous and will not end until we die, but the view along the way is breathtaking. And now, before I finish up here, I do have a confession. Earlier, when I quoted Camus, I committed the cardinal sin of writing. I used a quote out of context. Here it is in full. I leave Sisyphus at the foot of the mountain. One always finds one's burden again. But Sisyphus teaches a higher fidelity when it negates the gods and raises rocks. He too concludes that all is well. This universe, henceforth without a master, seems to him neither sterile nor futile. Each atom of that stone, each mineral flake of that night-filled mountain, in itself forms a world. The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. Okay, that's all. Thank you. Okay. Lord mercy. Okay, ready?
Good job.
Thanks.
Easier than you expected? More difficult than you expected?
I was fine. It's really hot in here, which
Yeah.
is kind of throwing me off a little bit, but I don't know. It was fine.
Yeah, the giant like raincoat is.
Yeah, it's doing a lot.
Okay. So the question I'm sure you've gotten a lot of and will have to answer many times more. What are your plans after graduation?
I'm going to go to UT Dallas to pursue a Bachelor of Science in Healthcare Studies on the pre-med track.
Okay. And then after that, what are your hopes for the future? To make it small, just career-wise.
I hope to be an emergency medicine physician and do that and pay off my debt and stuff. So
Okay, emergency medicine.
Yes.
So what drew you to that?
Emergency medicine is this kind of the safety net of the healthcare system. It's where people go on their worst days, on the days that they don't have anywhere else to go. It's kind of the last line of defense. You know, whether it's the uninsured or the undocumented or those who are in absolute critical condition with no other hope for survival, that's where they end up. And I think it's a beautiful responsibility to be able to be there for people when they're experiencing that.
Okay. So looking at that and then also the topic of your thesis, do you foresee any of the difficulties you talked about, be it mundanity or discouragement, being a big part of that career?
I think for emergency medicine specifically, mundanity isn't as big of a risk because they're kind of doing a whole bunch of stuff all the time. But I think discouragement is kind of a big thing because I think seeing people maimed and sick and dying and dead a lot of the time has got to do something to you, and fighting tooth and nail against health insurance companies to get your patients what they're owed when they don't want to give it to them has to do something to you, which I guess could be mundane, but I think it's more about just the constant horrors being thrown at you. It's bound to be discouraging.
Okay. And do you have anything in mind? And I guess you'll kind of come up with stuff as it goes, but do you have anything in mind to counter some of those difficulties that you foresee?
I think it's gonna have to be, well, it's gonna have to be, provided I get there, it'd have to be a combination of looking back at how far you've come. You know, I worked for 8 years of post high school and residency and all of this, and I've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to get here. And then it's, if not me, then who? Like, these people need someone there for them, and I have the skills and the ability to do that. And it's a beautiful thing to be there, even if I guess that sometimes it could probably feel like it's not. So.
Okay, thank you. So in writing your thesis, you had a lot of ideas that you wanted to include in them. And there was one that you were unfortunately not able to fit into your speech, but we were able to read in your paper. Can you give a brief introduction to what that section was about?
Yes, I can. I'm so glad you asked. This is not even the right paper. Give me, hold on. Okay, I'm getting flustered. Let me log in. Yes, so my paragraph, it was, for the record, 440 words that I had to cut out. It was about, surprise to no one here, Batman and Superman. Thank you. And so I did that. I haven't read it in a long time, so I actually don't know where it is. Yep, here it is. Okay. So I was basically talking about how Batman and Superman as characters, I'm assuming everyone here knows who Batman and Superman are, venturing a guess, but they have, you know, Superman is in Metropolis and Batman is in Gotham City, and they each have their own individual burdens that they have to undertake. Batman is facing kind of the worst of the worst in the worst city ever, night after night, and his kids die every other comic, and and Superman is facing intergalactic threats and all of this. And I think the reason that these characters are such good examples of empathy is because Batman, famously lost his parents and has, again, his children dying all the time, and Gotham City is awful and horrible, but he still continues to go out there every single night and try and make the city a better place. It's a futile task because Gotham City is, again, the worst place ever. And so he knows he's never going to succeed. He knows his task is fundamentally impossible. The quote from Alfred, "Be the impossible man who saves all the families on their way home from the theater." Batman will never save all the families, but he's going to try. And Superman, as much as kind as he is and as much family as he has, he's constantly othered from society because at the end of the day, he is Kryptonian and he's not of Earth. And he has the power to destroy the entire world if he wanted to. So he has to constantly, he gets up every day, and despite every reason to be evil and bad, he chooses not to be. And that's why evil Superman characters are bad. So anyway, hope that answered your question. Kind of blacked out.
Yes. I think it answered the one after that too, so
Oh,
that's perfect.
great. Excellent.
Okay. I am gonna shift over to the subject of active love, because that was
Yep.
kind of like the bow on your whole thesis. It's what everything was pointing towards. So to start out, there was the part with the Brothers Karamazov quote about active love versus love in dreams. Could you give an example of how those two things might be different? Like what might quote unquote love in dreams look like compared to active love?
Interesting question, Ms. Ruby. I think love in dreams is very kind of the idealized, almost, I don't want to say rom-com version of love, but it's love without any of the work behind it. Like you can do, like, I can't think of a specific example, but in general, this idea that you do something for someone and you get praise for it and all this, but there's not really any detriment to you, right? The idea that when loving someone, it's enough to just do what's convenient for you and do what kind of glorifies you, I suppose. Whereas active love is obviously you have to put the work in. And it might not always be comfortable for you. It might not always be easy, but you still got to do it because you love that person or you love the people that you're doing it for. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah,
did my best.
Makes sense. So looking at active love as opposed to love in dreams, do you have an example of someone that you know that is good at active love? It can be either someone in your direct life or like a real life person. Basically, I'm just borrowing you off from fictional characters.
Right, thanks. Great. Glad you specified that. Um, okay, well, I think like on an individual level, there is a lot of people in my life who are very loving because I think there's different aspects of active love that everyone, because no one's doing everything right all the time, because like my parents are very loving and my grandparents and like Haley and all of my friends and all of that. And then, so that's kind of on the individual level, and they all have their unique strengths of what parts of active love they're best at. And then I think there's kind of whole careers and groups of people who are amazing demonstrations of active love, like healthcare workers and educators and journalists and activists who are going out, like journalists especially, going out there in these war zones and stuff and putting their lives on the line to get the word out and to do what is good for the people there. What greater love is there than this? To lay down your life or whatever. I don't know what verse that is.
Is active love something that you personally find difficult?
Depends on the day, actually. Because sometimes I wake up and I'm very motivated and I'm like, I'm gonna do everything right. And sometimes I get paid and I'm like, I can't wait to donate this money or some of it. And then sometimes I've got my finger over the donate button and I'm like, I really need this money. I don't want to give this. And then sometimes I don't want to call representatives because I don't want to talk to people on the phone. It's not fun, but you got to lock in and get it done. So I think it just depends on the situation and it depends on, I do my best, but I don't always succeed.
And then you kind of gave me some examples of active love there, so I don't have to ask you that. is there a fictional character you would say exemplifies active love?
See, this question is difficult for me because I consume so much media that is ridiculous. I'm like on a clinical level, but obviously you've got like the form, like the already mentioned Father Zosima and Batman, Superman, and we're just gonna skip this question. You'd have to give me like a hyper specific area in order for me to answer that question adequately.
In Project Hail Mary, is there an example
Let's lock in.
love that you can point
Let's
at?
lock in. Okay, let's get together. Well, I think it's going to depend on, well, everything depends on something, I guess. But you've got the relationship between Rocky and Grace. Yes, I was getting there. I don't know why you think I don't know how to talk. Okay, let's get. Oh my goodness, getting defensive. Let me calm down. Okay.
About the act of love.
Okay. We're focusing in because I don't want to spoil Project Hail Mary, but like there's y'all know kind of near the end, and then even I think it can be seen in Eva Stratt, that's her name, isn't it? Yes, she's willing to make a lot of very, very difficult decisions in order to ensure the future of humanity itself, right? Like that's not an easy thing for her to do, and she does it anyway. So
Okay, well, I'll pass it on to Mr. Bria.
thank you.
You're doing great, Ava. Oh,
That's really loud.
okay, so best character on the pit. Go.
Let's lock in. Let's get it together. Okay, I'm gonna say that at least 6 times.
You've already said it 6 times.
Yeah, he's got a tally. Okay, that's gonna have to be. Okay, there's two. I'll give you a man. I'll give you a woman. For man, it's going to be Dr. Jack Abbott, and for the woman, it's going to be Dr. Al Hashimi. I think so. I don't know if you know who either of those characters are, but
It's a
she does.
very stirring show set in an emergency room, but you have to have the stomach for it, just for a heads up for anybody who hasn't watched it yet. Okay, so I wanted to just ask one quick question. Well, one quick question about active love to wrap up what Miss Struble was talking about. But would you say that Superman and Batman are exhibiting active love in their crime fighting?
Active love and their crime fighting?
Yeah.
I think that's the whole of what that's the end goal. Because Batman, well, you said a quick question, then you brought up Batman, so I don't think we're gonna get out of here quickly. But I think because the base of everything Batman does, even though he's brooding and people want to portray him as like this like alpha male, he's so grim and whatever, like Zack Snyder, whatever he was doing with Superman too. But the base of what they're doing is love. Batman is one of the most loving people in all of comics because of what he does.
I was hoping for a simple yes or no.
Sorry, I'm talking about him like he's my close personal friend.
Okay.
Doesn't exist. He's not real.
So is it possible to exhibit active love while punching people? Because that doesn't really seem like those things could be held at the same moment.
You're getting really close to the argument of like Batman beats up mentally ill people, which isn't true. But
I was not planning to go there, but
I'm getting like defensive about it. No, I think it's similar to how in Project Hail Mary, bringing it back, connections, Eva Stratt has to make difficult decisions that may harm some people for the good of everyone. And Batman, he's punching like the Joker has killed thousands of people. And the Batman doesn't just go around punching people for no reason. He protects civilians and all that. And I don't want to be like, they got what's coming to him, but they got what's coming to him. So he is exhibiting active love, even though he's punching people.
yeah. So I guess the quote, put a lot of quotes in here, but the quote about doing justice now, maybe that's a part of
Yes.
the executing justice
Mhm.
is trying to put wrongs to the right.
Yes. It's very good.
Okay, so I have never read the word mundanity so many times or heard it so many times
When
in
did even
one
say it was
sitting.
mundane?
So you used a lot of big words.
True.
I ran the AI report on your speech. Do you know what percent came back AI?
I'm hoping 0 because I didn't use
Yeah,
it.
that was 0. I was not surprised by that. But the
Okay.
similarity report is like how much what you say is out on the internet. And it was like
No,
35%.
it's because I went through and I looked.
Okay.
It's flagging all my citations. I have footnotes It's flagging all of them
It's actually flagging the stuff in your paper
and the quotes.
and the quotes. And so you put so many quotes in your thing.
Yeah. I love
And you
quotes.
also told me that you have even more quotes to share.
Oh, I have some written down.
Yeah. So, like, what is it with you and quotes?
I don't know. I think they're cool. They're cool. I like words and I like when people say I like saying things, but I like reading what other people have to say.
Well, yeah, you have a lot of things to say yourself. So, like, why bother including what other people are saying so much?
I just like whenever, because they usually, I'll read a quote and I'm like, wow, I was thinking that exact thing. I just could never have hoped to put it in that good of a structure. I'm not
Yeah.
that good of a writer or a speaker, or it'll be quotes that I'm like, oh, I didn't think about it that way.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, you got one that you want to share with the class that may not have come up that you go, man, this is the quote that I was hoping someone would ask me about.
I have multiple actually.
Pick one.
I'll do one about. Do you want the one about empathy or do you want the one about citizen action?
Surprise me.
Okay. This one is kind of related. In Haley's thesis, she talked about empathy and she said empathy is feeling with someone, whereas sympathy is feeling for them. Is that right? Okay, thank you. This is a quote from Dennis Lehane, and he says, sympathy is easy. You have sympathy for starving children swatting at flies on the late night commercials. Sympathy is easy because it comes from a position of power. Empathy is getting down on your knees and looking someone else in the eye and realizing you could be them, and all that separates you is luck. That's all. That's a quote.
Okay, that's good.
Close enough.
All right. Well, back to mundanity now. So you talked about good mundanity and bad mundanity.
Mhm.
What was your example of bad mundanity?
Well, I talked about, are you talking about the geometry one?
Yeah. Then
Well, hold on. I also use unpaid and exploited
true.
labor.
Yeah,
So
that's a good
let's
point.
maybe focus on that, huh?
Yeah. Well, same difference. I don't know.
I was not getting
Connections.
paid to take geometry. In fact, I was paying to take it. But
So I guess I gotta like try to, since it's my job,
I apologize.
defend geometry a little bit.
I
So like, what is it like? Why would geometry fit into this category more easily for you as the bad mundanity?
like why is geometry bad or why is geometry mundane?
The bad version of mundane.
Okay, sure. Great. Thank you for answering the question. I think geometry is mundane because, in the propositions, it's like let's not get caught up in my binder, like 2 or 3 per night, right? Or between class period. And they're not all the same, but they're all kind of like similar. You feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again, and you're not really, like I'd always tell my dad, I feel like I'm not getting anywhere because they just keep building on themselves, but there's no like, you're not getting anywhere. It's like, oh, I finished these propositions, more propositions. And they were bad because I didn't like doing them. So no hate to geometry or to you, Mr. Priya, I promise.
All right. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
So, one famous piece of art, I figure it's in here. It's in other places in the School of Athens. It's supposed to kind of resemble Plato's Academy. And over the archway of Plato's Academy, it has a phrase that you heard in geometry probably. Do you happen to remember what it was?
I'm going to be so real with you, Mr.
Okay.
Priya, and I don't.
That's right. It was on the course description, but it says,
read it.
let no man enter here who has not learned geometry.
Okay, okay, yeah.
So like why I mean, of all the things to pick, like why do you think, even though it's this kind of bad version of mundane or can be the bad version of mundane, why do you think he picked that?
Why do you think he picked geometry?
Yeah.
Maybe he liked it. I think I feel like you always said this to me. Mr. Snell didn't say it to me because he didn't teach me well. But you said like I think it helps you understand the world and how it's structured, and it's a very logical kind of thing. It's very formulaic, and geometry doesn't change depending on circumstance. It's geometry, and I guess that's useful in life. And at least for us in propositions, the kind of constant memorization and having to understand things did help me a little bit, I guess, in this maybe, but I still didn't like doing it. I wasn't anticipating this many geometry questions when I came up here, so.
Well, sorry that if you had not thrown shade at geometry, I would have asked you about something different.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Okay. Let's see. So I guess one more geometry question.
Okay.
Uh,
One of them.
I'm wondering if I can, I guess I'm going to commit the other cardinal sin of writing, and I'm going to rewrite what Camus said, but put geometry into the quote and see what you think of it.
Okay. Sure.
All right. I leave Ava at the foot of the mountain. One always finds one's burden again, but Ava or Euclid teaches the higher fidelity that negates the gods and raises rocks. She too concludes that all is well. The universe henceforth without a master seems to her neither sterile nor futile. Each definition of that stone, each proposition of that darkness filled mountain in itself forms a world. The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a girl's heart. One must imagine Ava happy. So, do you think that's a fair rendering of what geometry can produce in a person?
I think you can learn to love geometry. I never did, but like it's the constant effort. There's a reason I used it as my example of mundanity that I didn't like because I didn't like it. But I think you can struggle itself towards a height.
Is there happiness to be found there? do
In
you think?
geometry?
No, just in mundanity. I mean, in geometry and mundanity.
I think mundanity is you can absolutely find happiness in mundanity. Like it's not to be like you have to appreciate the little things in life, but it's kind of like you have to appreciate the little things in life. You know, like I said in the paper, doing dishes just means that you keep being able to cook, good meals, and doing laundry means that you keep having clean clothes to wear and all of this. And I think you can find happiness in doing that by kind of paying attention or realizing the reason behind why you have to do them. So does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, there's actually a lot of hope in that concept that you just brought up because most of our life is actually in the mundane. We have these moments where you get to do really cool stuff, and that's maybe what we look forward to, but most of the time it's chores and propositions and you know, cleaning up the backyard again, just those kinds of things. And so if all we have to look forward to in life is kind of these peaks, then a lot of it's not worth looking forward to. There's a book that I would recommend to you called The Quotidian Mysteries, and the quotidian is like the commonplace, daily, boring stuff. And so this author makes that argument to say like the best fulfillment, it's a short little book, can come from like finding purpose in the mundane.
That sounds lovely.
Got my own thing. All right. Well, got a lot of questions and a little bit of time. We'll get to it. So first of all, thank you for apologetics. It was an enjoyable time this year. You were the engaged. I appreciate that. But let's jump right in. Do you think Batman should kill people?
No,
Why not?
because it's kind of I feel like this needs to change. Anyway,
It's you're almost there.
okay, it's okay. It's a central part of it's what separates Batman from, the criminals and there's obviously the argument of, well, this person killed a bunch of people and why like killing them wouldn't that, make it better? Because, that's kind of the philosophy of Jason Todd, who is the Red Hood, who is his son, who died and then came back to life. But Batman, I think he explains it in Under the Red Hood, and he says, I can't ever cross that line because I'll never come back from it. And I think he views it as kind of a stain on his soul. And I think, well, first of all, the guilt will probably eat him alive. But Batman, at the end of the day, believes very firmly in people's ability to change and in their goodness and in rehabilitation. And killing someone completely removes that from the possibilities, because Batman does what he does because he does believe deep down that people can change and they can be better.
Okay. What about you? Do you think there's ever a time to kill people? Not you personally, but yeah.
I think this is heavy hitter right out the gate. I think it's in a perfect
We're
world.
not living in a perfect world.
I think in the world as it is today, I think with the justice system we are currently afforded, I don't Well, the question is basically, do you believe in the death penalty?
Yeah,
I
well, also war or, stopping an active shooter,
Well, I think in
any of those things.
instances where it's like actively life or death, like if you don't kill this person, many more people are going to die. I think in that situation, yes.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think killing someone as like the death penalty, for instance, I think with the okay, the justice system in its current form, with its flaws and its bias, no, I think there's too much room for error,
Okay.
and just throw them in prison for a really long time or the rest of their life. I think that's actually probably a worse fate to rot away in prison. And then the other one was war. It's going to depend on the war and for what reason. I don't want war actively to happen, but you have different types of war. You have World War II, and then you have wars of conquest, and you have like imperialism. But
Okay. So you're open to it. It just depends.
it just
Okay.
depends.
Okay.
It's not black and white.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to something a little lighter. Why do you hate AI so much? What has it done to you?
Oh, AI hasn't done anything to me because I haven't given it the chance to.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. Will you be using AI as a doctor?
I'm going to do my best not to. It's going to depend, I think, on the program offered because there is types of AI that you can, find tumors and stuff like that. I think
Right.
that AI can be very beneficial if it's controlled and, reined in and specific to a use. And then, generative AI is kind of more what I'm talking about
Okay.
here.
Okay.
And I think I wouldn't use that.
Right. So you're making a distinction between, let's say, AI that helps like diagnose issues
Mhm.
in your patient, as opposed to we're going to replace all music and,
Right.
artists and all that kind of
Like
stuff.
I wouldn't want AI thinking or doing my job for me.
Mhm.
But if there is something AI can do better than a person that doesn't sap our water supply,
Okay. What if AI could have done your geometry for you?
I wouldn't have let it because it probably could have, I guess. That was only last year. But the struggle itself toward the heights or life is made better by the effort we put into it. As much as I hated geometry and as much as I cried over it,
Uh-huh.
it wasn't like I still knew this is important. I got to get it done. And so I did.
Okay.
And
Excellent.
I don't know how AI would have helped me present propositions.
Fair enough. Okay. So you mentioned a lot about, different causes and different places in human history and get involved. So let's say somebody walks away from this thesis and they're stirred. What steps do they take to like figure out which cause to like get engaged in? Because it's obviously a big world, a lot of
Yeah, a lot
problems.
going on.
So how do we decide?
I think it's a lot of self-reflection and figuring out like where do my not loyalties, but what do I care about specifically? And do I care more about individuals or do I care more about kind of, the planet or what like which aspects of human life are most important? And then also just doing research and figuring out what exactly is going on and what exactly is going on in the world and how we're supposed to respond or how we're supposed to help with that. And obviously no one person can help with everything that happens in the world,
Right.
right? I had to accept and realize that myself. But you just whatever's most important to you and whatever, maybe atrocity you see happening, whichever one you think could use the most help or should have the most help, I think that's the one you need to look into the
Okay.
most.
All right. All right. Last question I have for you. So for you, what practical incremental steps are you taking personally to live out active love?
Personally or on a more
Just like on a daily basis, let's say, because it seems like since this is something important to you. So what are you doing to move forward in active love?
Yeah. With like with my interpersonal relationships, like friendships, I try and, actively love them, I guess, and be there and if they need something from me, I'll try and deliver and be there if they need me to listen or anything like that. And whenever I get paid, I donate part of my paycheck to my cause of choice and then um, call representatives if I feel like I need to, which doesn't actually really do anything but Ted Cruz never answers his phone. But and then just I get up every day with the attitude of like I'm going to try and be loving and try and make the world, as corny as it sounds, try and make the world a better place. And I do as the opportunities present themselves to me. I try and take them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The time has come for
I don't know.
if yeah, maybe it's on. I don't know. We'll go anyway. The time has come for you to ask us a question that you would like us to answer for you.
Okay, well, I'm glad the hard part's over. So this is a two-part question. The first part is kind of like, sillier or lighter, and then the next one's kind of more serious. So the first part, I'll ask them both at the same time. It's the same question for all three of you. What is a mundane / ordinary task that you absolutely hate? Like mine personally is loading the dishwasher. I feel like every time I touch wet food, the Grim Reaper is standing at my shoulder. And the second part of the question is what's something in your life that you feel like you're constantly fighting either through or against, like Sisyphus and his rock? So Michigan, you
I'm gonna answer first because I did ask you for the question. They wanted to be surprised.
Yeah.
They're more thinking on their feet than I am. And give them time to come up with theirs. My kind of silly, mundane task that I don't enjoy is folding the clothes out of the dryer. I keep finding some way to put it off. Like, no, there's still some heat. They're not going to be like wrinkly yet. There's not really anything in there that's going to wrinkle too bad. And then I open it up and they're wrinkly, and I like do the thing where you put like an ice cube or like a wet garment in there to run it again so that the wrinkles will go out. And then I don't fold them after that again. So it's just the cycle of not folding the clothes. And then my more serious one, so like a boulder that I keep rolling up the hill only for it to roll down again. Kind of something similar that I said for Riley's thesis, and it was kind of my relationship with other people in the sense that it's very, very easy for me to just assume the worst. Yeah, in the sense that, I've said something, they didn't really laugh at that, they don't think I'm funny, they hate me now, I should just I should go off somewhere, fake my death, they should never find me again, that sort of thing. And it's I keep doing that, and at the same time I keep telling myself like, hey, we have done this before, like nothing in that person's character suggests this is the sort of person they are. This is the sort of person you are to overthink this. That's probably what's going on. You need to calm down. And one of the things I found that is very disappointing is that no amount of rationale helps you break out of that cycle, unfortunately. So although that is my boulder, I keep rolling up the hill. Every once in a while with different people, I do get to the top of the hill where it's usually nothing that I do correctly. It's usually the type of people they are that kind of I don't roll that boulder with them. So like one of my classmates I graduated high school with, she like I never doubt her sincerity, or I never doubt like that she's telling me the truth. When she says I'm not bothering her, I believe I'm not bothering her. I feel the same way about Miss Henson. And some of that is the amount of time that I've spent getting to know them. And then some people are really weird in that they're just good people, and you immediately don't feel like that way, and you just trust that they're very genuine. And she's not here, so I don't have to be embarrassed about like saying it to her face. Miss Tony is one of them, where just like we have a similar sense of humor, so I don't have to worry about like, oh, I've said that and I've hurt her feeling. It's like, no, I'd know she'd be joking. Like, no, it's fine. And she's just very genuine and honest. And she just makes me kind of feel kind of safe in that friendship with her. So although I am slowly getting better with that boulder, I think the boulder's still going to be there, even if it just, takes a little less time to get up the hill in the future.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
All right, I'll go next. It's weird. I love putting dishes in the dishwasher, and I love folding clothes. And so those are not mine. My mundane task that I hate is entering stuff into RenWeb. I hate it every week of just like participation or contribution, and then all the things. Just that's the worst mundane task for me. I cannot stand that. And then the thing that I'm fighting through, I was thinking about that. I've been presenting Sunday sermons in some form or fashion since 1999. Wow. And so he's a youth pastor and then it's pastor. And so it's you get there and you have the sermon and you give it on Sunday, and then it's like, well, it's Monday tomorrow, and it's going to be able to do that again. And so sometimes that task of just doing that week after week for, I guess, 27 years now, you just kind of wonder, has it been worth it? Right? What is it really doing? Because you don't get to see, afterwards. So I think that's the one I have to remind myself every week. Hey, this is what you're called to. Just keep doing it, and then one day we'll see. And so I am confident that there is an ultimate meaning there, that there's an ultimate telos to that one day I'll get to see the fruit of that. But I do have to push it up the hill every week. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, when Miss Struble was looking out in the crowd, I followed her gaze and noticed my wife is out there, and I'm embarrassed that I am confessing this in her presence, but I basically hate all mundane tasks. And so a student pointed out to me in the recent past, like, I think you have ADHD. It's like, huh, that actually makes a lot of things make sense. And so tasks are hard for me. And so I'm sorry that you bear the burden. You have the Sisyphean task of being married to me. But man, it's hard to pick. The one that comes to mind, and this is kind of abstract, but the Enneagram helped me understand this. I'm a peacemaker, and so peacemakers are supposed to find broken things and put them back together. And there's a lot of broken things in the world, and I get overwhelmed by them. And so I'm embarrassed to say this to you, but I haven't voted in a while because I just don't really like any of our choices, and that's not actually a solution to the problem either. And so I draw a lot of encouragement from the things that you're saying, that actually small habits do make a difference, and being faithful with the things that God puts in front of you is what He asks you, what He's going to ask me about someday. Okay, not did you fix all of them, but did you fix any of them? And he wired me in such a way that I can fix some things that you don't want to, and vice versa. And there's a tutor here, I think he's before everybody's time except yours, Mr. Shaw. He would ask this question at a lot of thesis panels, and to all of his students, he would say, what's one thing that you see in the world that breaks your heart, and what are you doing to be a part of the solution? And so I think that's an answer to the question Mr. Westfall asked earlier, of just, okay, find the things that bother you and go fight injustice and punch the people who need punched in order to make peace. And so flip tables when necessary, I guess. And I see you as a table flipper, and as a justice seeker, and as a honorary member of the Justice League. And so you are heading toward, you're already doing great things, and you're heading toward even more great things. So it's been really cool to be on your panel and to get to know you and to offer you some encouragement in the Sisyphean task of geometry. So,
Thank you.
so let me close us in prayer and we can be done. God, thank you so much for your just the hope that's found in you, God, that as we do kingdom work here on this earth, even though it's daunting, that you will multiply our efforts to be faithful. That if we don't grow weary in doing good, that we will reap a harvest, because that's what you promise us. May you continue to give Ava the courage to face the problems that she's aware of, and give her discernment and knowing when to punch and when to wait. God, we love you and we pray all this in Christ's name. Amen.
Right. Yay.